Let me just start by talking to you about the brands and what differentiation we have brought in when we started developing Elpro. Elpro has been a legacy company, and we got into the customer service business, which is to develop a real estate model, which now runs by the name of Elpro City Square in Pune. We started talking to the brands much early because the mall started in 2006 when we started building the mall, and then it got delayed because of the financial crisis in 2008. It was being done in JV with Reliance, and that is how it lingered on a bit. So we are privy to the journey which has been there right from the start of the decade and to actually when we launched in 2019. So there was a sea change in the requirements of the brand. Once the brand started, then they were actually catering to the millennials, right? So they were mostly into having large stores, experience stores, high ATVs, what they were expecting. And at the turn of the launch, wherein we launched in 2019, these legacy brands started to feel that pinch post the financial crisis, and then came COVID. So we were actually tantamount to that journey, wherein we started with the millennial, then stopped at COVID, and then post that we ran for 5 years, and then we started catering to the Gen Z, as we call right now. So we have seen a mix of all the three generations, I would say, because pre and post COVID was also a generation, because people then started pinching their spends. So yes, we have seen that journey, and now I feel that brands are omnipresent. That is number one, because online, offline has also happened. That journey also we have seen. So with the omnipresence, now the brands have become, I would say, more wiser over a period of time, because they know what the exact requirement of the customer is, because showrooming has also been a very, very big phenomenon once upon a time. So now they have understood how to balance the offline and online, plus Gen Z, plus millennial, because it's not a question only about spend. It's also about the question what is in vogue right now, and to provide them with the solution. So on the one hand, you can't lose the millennial, which is the paying customer, and the Gen Z, you have to take more out of that wallet. So it has been a mix, and we as Elpro have developed ourselves as a regional community center, I would say, which is more of towards the regional tradition. So we have differentiated ourselves not from being a mall which is there in India, but which is there as a part of Pune, which is PCMC, which is a very, very regional sort of a connect which we have with the brands. And that is how we have been able to stave off competition also, and have been able to thrive well by God's grace till now. And then the continuous churning of the thought process in our mind as to how to connect and bring in the brands which are in tune with the times, so that we are successful. So yes, we have been able to talk to a lot of brands about their own positioning, their own performance, their own, I would say, the shortcomings. I would not say that the shortcomings were on their side. We also had some shortcomings. So we had to, I would say, reinvent that learning curve quite a number of times. And with that, we have got the confidence that now the brands also respect us because of that. And we are also, I would say, very, very, means we are very, very concerned about how the customer journey is going to be, which will result in shopping in a particular brand, because just opening a shopfront is not going to guarantee you that business. So with the culmination of all these things, which I said, that as a mall, we can influence a lot many things, but with a brand, you have to be very, very specific about what the need has to be, because one merchandiser sitting somewhere in Bangalore or somewhere in Delhi cannot determine what the exact regional shopping trend or the behavior is going to be. And in our case, when we have gone through a journey like this, which is a trough, then a crest, and then a trough. So if you look at the data of the trough, then you will not be able to do justice with that particular brand and the offering. So that has been the differentiator for us. That is why we are going slow in terms of expansion, that we don't want to just blow up and expand and then fail together with the brands, because brands can have 150 other malls. We cannot. So that is how the journey has been till now, and I believe we are progressing well on that front, and we should be able to do more malls. So yes, I will talk about our company a bit, because we have been a legacy company, right? We have been, I think, present right from independence. So we were having sugar mills, coal mines. Then we were the first to partner with GE in India, then with Yamaha, then with Mazak, So all these companies were highly established companies outside of India. When they came into India, they did a partnership with us. So having learned from them that the slow and steady will always win the race, and you have to have different strategies for different businesses. As I told you, look how different and diverse the businesses are. A sugar mill cannot be tied up with a coal mine, cannot be tied with a school business, cannot be tied with a residential real estate, cannot be tied with a commercial real estate, then a retail real estate. So we are diversified, and we learned that if you focus on one particular business with a different mindset, not to just copy and paste and probably go ahead in that business. So that was the learning from. So we are listed since 1962 on the BSE. So that journey has helped us actually weather a lot of storms. So now coming back to the retail real estate. So when you're talking about the D2C brands which are very new in the market and the legacy brands, I would say that since the legacy brands also want to change, it's not that they don't want to change, but yes, the speed of change has been a bit slower than the new age D2C brands, because D2C brands, I would say, they are more focused in terms of I would say operations, because they are lean mean machine. That is number one. And number two, since they have taken funding, so the ROI has to come a little faster as compared to the legacy brands. So there is a certain amount of pressure also, but the management is very young. So the exuberance of that youth you can feel with the new age D2C brands, and they are able to connect much better to the new age customer, which definitely is there, because they are connecting and then they are recalibrating their price points, which is a bit that difficult for the legacy brands. But I would not say that they are not catching up. They are catching up because they are dedicating lines in their own offering, which can counter the D2C brands. So since the journey of D2C brands has been quite smaller as of now as compared to the legacy brands, because they are there in the market since last 30-40 years now. So I'm sure they have also weathered a lot of storm, and they will take the learnings from there and then try to compete with the D2C brands. So D2C brand, due to their abject newness and the supply chain cycles which they have been able to tweak around a bit and shorten that life cycle, businesses like JIT, which is there, once you sell, tomorrow the replacement is there, fast fashion is there. So there are a lot of things which the D2C brands have made that mainstream, which was one of our achievement for the legacy brands. But now that is also becoming mainstream in the legacy brands also, and they are bringing in new talent, and with a new thought process they are approaching that. So I don't see that going forward there will be a distinct I would say distinction between the so-called legacy and the D2C brands. It will merge, and somewhere or the other you will have to address the customer at the end. And as I said, that the customer is always defined by the year of birth, right? So the year of birth has already gone by. So you always have to look forward to the years which are coming and how to satisfy your customer, whether it is a 1970 born, 1980 born, or a 2012 born, or a Zen Alpha which is 2020 born. So it is just a phase. But in retail was present before the organized retail also, and retail is present now also, and retail will always be present post this also, because we are still far away from what organized market like US is, right, in terms of the overall turnover and the percentage. So that this is a journey, and I think everybody is learning. And given the turnaround times now, which in fact the credit goes to the D2C brands, everybody is now moving up their timelines to learn faster and grow together to serve the customer the best. Look, 5 years will be a too small a lens to look at, but yes, definitely a decade should be the idea where we should be looking at, because India is a population of 1.5 billion, as you know, right? And organized retail is just close to hovering around 10%. The game should be that how we reach at least 30% by the CAGR numbers, what we are seeing. And by we have to look at that the aspirations of the tier 1 city has always been the prime, because they were the spending customers. As we say that there is one Singapore living within India, right? So that is top 1% of the population which we are talking about. So now more or less, if you see all the organized cities or the top 20 cities in India, we have mostly been able to offer the customer whatever that need is. So now the overall focus has been to the tier 2 and tier 3 towns, because their aspirations have not been catered to. It was always that, yes, you will have to find a regional center and then you will travel from that regional center to that particular big city for shopping and for any other requirement you might have, because people already know about brands a lot nowadays because they've seen all on social media. So now the next challenge for developers like us is to how to deliver that promise of these particular brands being available right at their doorstep, right, in a very, very convenient manner, because as you know, public spaces are very, very limited in India. So what happens when you are trying to develop a real estate in terms of a mall is creating that public space by private money, so to say, right? So malls have been that melting pot. So the challenge, I would say, as a developer for me, will be first to liaise with the government authorities there and then build a real world-class mall. Because if you are trying to cut corners there, saying that since it is a tier 2 city and a tier 3 city, so we will not provide you that experience. But remember one fact, that that person who's from a tier 2 or a tier 3 city has already visited a regional city or a metro city, because traveling keeps on happening, right? And people with disposable income definitely would travel. And people who are not able to travel definitely have seen that on social media. So you can't fool people now anymore, saying that, look, your experience has to be a slightly toned down version of the tier 1 city. It would not help. So for developers like us, it will be all the more good to understand that choice and give them the same experience or the world-class experience, as I'm trying to say, because most of the tier 1 cities are now world-class in terms of the malls which you see in Bangalore or Delhi or Pune or Ahmedabad for that matter. So deliver the same kind of experience there in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, where it can be made at a, I would say, lower cost. Even though the specs are good, but since the labor will be cheap, you will be able to cut down your cost, I would say. So don't compromise on the finishes and the materials, but provide them that overall ambience, right? And then bring in brands which they are aspiring for, because not everywhere everybody would be able to say afford a Louis Vuitton. But yes, bridge to luxury is what they are aspiring for, so why not give them? So that should be the agenda. And then as and when the tier 2, tier 3 becomes tier 1, then you graduate to a different brand level. So that is why probably we were talking about the leases being shorter, or how to actually move around brands a bit. So that independence, now I think more of the brands are now agreeing to that fact that yes, change is necessary in any of the shopping center, because if there is no change and then suddenly you feel obsolete, then the customer is not going to come to you. And malls are a huge investment, so you have to bring in something or the new, right? And when you are talking about such a huge, I would say, population, the opportunity is humongous, right? So that's my take. And from the brand's perspective, yes, definitely you should not again try to shortchange these tier 2 and tier 3 people, saying that, look, I will always only keep the lower price points or the trends which are slightly older, I would say, because fashion follows a certain trend, right? So you should not try and bring in something which is of older nature to tier 2, 3, because people have become very smart. They know that if I am going to spend a certain money, right, I should be able to get that quality and service, right, at that particular price point. And they are very, as opposed to, I would say, the 1980s customer, where the choices were very limited. So you had to take what you got. But in today's scenario, it is not the same situation. So you will be doing a great disservice to your brand by trying to shortchange them, because then your store at that particular tier 2 or tier 3 will start bleeding. And then you will say that probably it is the fault of the market, and that this is why my store or the mall is not doing well. But it is not that. And the success of malls, I would say, in Nagpur or Surat for that matter, Ahmedabad once upon a time was a tier 2, as you know. So if you see those markets have really taken to the malls very well, and they are, I think, doing trading densities as equivalent as tier 1 cities.